In today's video, we're going to attempt to answer why would you want a filthy dog in your school next to your kids? There are no long-term peer-reviewed studies that prove the presence of dogs helps with school outcomes. So then, what is the purpose of having these dogs in the school? What could be the benefit? We're going to have to look downstream of all this. And so today we're going to do that. We're going to look at bacteria, we're going to look at saliva and see how this all ties together. So we're over here looking at this picture from therapy dogs in schools. So we got people wearing masks. So this was around the time of COVID. So the people are told that they need to be good people and not spread their nasty saliva everywhere. Yet here's the dog, completely unmasked, spreading its saliva everywhere. You can even see a drip of it right here. And of course, they're rubbing all over the dog. So we're going to look at the most common bacteria in dog saliva, and we're going to look at the effects on kids. So one of the most common bacteria, Capnocytophaga, but we're going to look at Pasteurella canis. So these bacteria can cause infections in humans, especially if there is a bite or scratch involved. Also, this can get across the epithelium layer, which is in the respiratory tract, in your eyes, and other thin membranes of your body. So we have to look at something else while we're talking about this. Fluoxetine, or doggy Prozac, is commonly used in therapy dogs. This includes those dogs in schools. And you can see this because they're all half asleep. And lethargy and sleepiness is one of the big side effects. But another side effect of this drug that they give to therapy dogs, increased saliva production. So that bacteria that's harmful to humans, that's in the dog saliva, that's dripping all over their fur, that the kids are rubbing up on, the drug that they have to give dogs so they can be at less risk to attack a little kid, it also increases their saliva production. Oh boy. So let's look at our next little piece of information. It says we cannot ignore the fact that we also transmit pathogens to our dogs. Zoonotic diseases are those that can be spread from humans to animals and back again. Studies have demonstrated that dogs carry multi-drug resistant strains of bacteria, which they might have got from humans, but it says we are responsible for minimizing the risk. So that means the dog gets the bacteria, spreads it to a human, the human spreads it to a dog. So the presence of the dog is spreading the bacteria. They're trying to say in this article that we need to take better care of our dogs, blah, blah, blah. But if you understand what they're saying, they are admitting the fact that the dogs are spreading diseases around through their saliva. So you're sitting here breathing in the dog's saliva particles into your mouth, getting them on your mask, and then rubbing those on other surfaces. You're just using the dog as a giant spreader and propagator of whatever disease or bacteria that we happen to be talking about. So let's look at our bacteria that we're talking about, the Pasteurella. Well, Pasteurella infections are relatively common in children, particularly following bites or scratches. These injuries lead to about 300,000 emergency room visits annually. Wow. So 300,000 emergency room visits annually in the US. And those are just the ones that actually go to the emergency room. I'm sure a lot of little kids get accidentally bitten at home and the parents just whatever, write it off. So this is not just some minor little thing that you can fix with a little bit of hand sanitizer. This is something that you don't want. You get skin inflammation or more serious concerns, especially in young children. So why would you want a creature that sends 300,000 of your kids to the emergency room up in your classroom? So Like I was mentioning before, this also can occur with contact with the epithelium layers, the respiratory tract, animals, birds. So you can breathe this in. The particles that you're going to get from the dog, they can get into your respiratory tract. It's one of the favorite places for these type of bacteria. So this little kid, he's rubbing on this dog. He's going to have to take his mask off, or probably touch the mask and then put it back on. Or he's going to go to the bacteria or the cafeteria, eat some macaroni and cheese or hot dogs, and then he's going to have to lick his fingers clean or touch his silverware with his hands that have been touching that nasty bacteria. And so that bacteria can also affect the respiratory tract. Well, young children are currently experiencing an increase in respiratory illnesses. Wow. So you would think that bringing the dog into the classroom with a bacteria that's known to cause respiratory issues would be a big no-no. But they're doing it anyways. And so think about that when we're thinking about where are the incentives, okay? Think about this. Where are the incentives for this right here? What incentives do we have to have this dog in the classroom? The superintendent, the teachers that teach science class that know all this stuff that I'm talking about, the school board. Where are the incentives? We're gonna get to that in a little bit. So they say with all of those allergies and infections that the dogs bring, well, it's only people with weakened immune systems. That's one of the arguments that the pro-dog people will say. But that bacteria, Pasteurella, it can stress the immune system in children, especially if they are bitten or scratched by an infected animal, leading to infections that cause inflammation and other complications. Children and the allergy and those with weakened immune systems are at high risk. Well, it's like a double punch. Pasteurella weakens the immune system, but also if you have a weakened immune system, you're more susceptible to it. So why would you want this? Why would you want that breathing, slobbering Pasteurella freaking harborer right next to your kids? So maybe this is why. So remember I was talking about incentives? Well, the antibiotics market is significant, with an estimated value of around $6.48 billion, with estimated growth due to the increasing prevalence of bacterial infections among children. So there's our long-term peer-reviewed studies of the downstream effects of dogs. Pharmaceutical companies are loving this. They're absolutely loving the fact that you don't take time to look at the risks of putting your dogs around little kids and putting your kids around little dogs. More pediatric specific antibiotics are developed and prescribed. Well, yeah, you create these strains of bacteria that are highly resistant to antibiotics through exposing those bacteria to all these prescriptions, including for dogs. This market for antibiotics in the dog culture with veterinarians is huge as well. And we can look deeper to double check our point. But for example, in the USA, we subscribe a significant number of pediatric antibiotics. 1 in 4 hospitals receive antibiotics, and they say incorrectly, contributing to antibiotic resistance. So you see, they go out of their way to prescribe these, and then they create antibiotic resistance. And then they put the kids in front of antibiotic resistance bacteria that are coming right out of the mouth of the dogs. And to drive that home a little bit more, as it says right here, overusing antibiotics leads to the development of antibiotic resistant bacteria. Yeah. So as we get our kids more infected, well, the people that sell all these drugs, do you think they're sitting back and looking at it? Do you think they're sitting back and watching you put your kids in front of dogs, knowing the risks? Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's going to increase their sales. And like I mentioned, this also applies to dog antibiotic market, valued at $486.2 million. So yeah, they're happy to increase bacteria in dogs. And if your kids have to suffer, hey, so what? They can sell more of these drugs. So we were mentioned that it survives in the upper respiratory tract. So yeah, here's the summary on that. Pasteurella bacteria survives in various environments, particularly in the upper respiratory tracts of animals. Yeah, but look what it says here. The longevity depends on conditions like temperature and humidity. Oh, hey, so let's look up some of that. So, humidity contributes to the spread of Pasteurella canis as it creates conditions that allow the bacteria to thrive. So, what comes right out of the mouth of dogs? Is that, oh, moisture, humidity. Yep. So, this dog is breathing out moisture and humidity. That helps the survivability of the bacteria that it's breathing out, that sends 300,000 of your kids to the emergency room every year, and you want to put that in your school. All that's going to do is increase the market for antibiotics, increase the market for allergy meds, and increase the market for drugs that they're going to tell you that you need to give to your little kid. So there are your incentives for you. What do you think about that? Does that make any sense yet? So now a proposal then. Since they say that these dogs are there to help with anxiety and stress of these kids, how about this? How about we just remove the dogs, watch the kids get less infections and less bacteria, and look what will happen to the kids. Recovering from illnesses can provide stress relief. Ha ha. Get rid of the sick, nasty dogs. You'll have less sicknesses, less bacteria all over your hands, and it will lead to improved physical and mental health. This can reduce anxiety and health issues to engage more fully in daily activities and relationships. Yeah, so you can get that stress relief by getting better. And one way to get better is to get rid of this nasty bacteria filled mutt. Get rid of it and get it out of here. And so remember, we were talking about the epithelium layer, cuts and scratches, the bacteria. So I took some time to scroll through some of these therapy dog pictures, and I found, I don't know if you can see it very well, but many of these kids actually have cuts and scrapes on them. So this dog is breathing out a bacteria that can infect cuts and scrapes, and there's a cut and scrape right there. I found another picture here. I'll put the link in the description. You probably can't see it really well, but this kid looks like he got rug rash on his face, and it looks like a little scab or cut right there. And the kid is rubbing saliva. You know what the kid's gonna do when it's done rubbing the dog's face? The kids are always rubbing their eyes, putting their fingers in their mouth. They eat their fruit cups or macaroni and cheese, and they lick their fingers clean. And look at this dog handler. She has both hands under the dog's neck. These adults know that a dog can snap and bite a kid. This picture, honestly, just freaking pisses me off. Putting this kid in front of a dog like this, kids get bitten in the face all the time. You pump this dog full of Prozac. You let this kid touch it in the face. And look at this woman. Look at this tight grip she has on the kid's arm. Like she's poised and ready to jerk that kid away. Because they know in their heart that freaking dogs will bite kids. It's so sad because this kid will go out into the park somewhere and likely get bitten. Kids get bitten in the face by dogs primarily, and you're brainwashing this kid to think it's okay to do this. And instead of having this dog right here, get rid of the dog and let these adults, these dog handlers, interact with the kid on a human to human level. You don't even need the dog there. The dog is like a security blanket for a loser adult, a loser child abusing adult, so they can make themselves look good while endangering and brainwashing a little kid and putting them at the risk for infection. Yeah, a little cut. But yeah, I found dozens of pictures like this where the kids look like they have little like cuts on their elbow and stuff. So they can easily be getting inflamed and getting that bacteria into their body through those little cuts. You know, kids are always getting little cuts and scrapes anyways, out playing. Anyways, there you go. That has been our look at dogs in the classroom. What are the incentives for all this? It seems to me like the provable incentives are simply financial and simply selling of drugs and selling of therapies for the kids after they get injured by dogs or have increased allergies and other infections related to the number one bacteria that comes out of the mouths of these ridiculous dogs. Oh, and Fluoxetine sales, of course, because all these dogs are on Fluoxetine. See you guys later.